going on?
What's going on?
Fiasco. Reuters reports that despite playing a role in launching the world's biggest tech initial public offering, Morgan Stanley likely remains the go-to underwriter.
Hello, and welcome to What's Going On. I'm Janette Cranshaw, the interviewer, and my two interviewees today are Wil Leslie, Director of the Salvation Army Service Extension Unit, and Kste Agin, Vice Chair of the Good Neighbor Energy Fund and Camp and Community Outreach Representative in Western Massachusetts. Now, they're going to be talking about the 212 Good Neighbor Energy Fund. She finds some of the people. You administer the whole program for them. So they'll be telling us what it's all about, what it covers, who's eligible, and how they can apply. They can also discuss the Salvation Army in general, what programs they offer specifically to seniors. They have many programs. So let's start right off. Shall we start with your role and that? Okay.
And thank you very much for inviting us to participate today. We always love the opportunity to share information about the Good Neighbor Energy Fund and the Salvation Army and the great work that they do. So just a little history. 27 years ago, utilities in Massachusetts came together to create the Good Neighbor Energy Fund, and we collaborated with the Salvation Army. So they administer the fund for us. So the utilities donate, our customers donate, but all the administration is done through the Salvation Army, so it's kept separate. They keep all the books, and they make sure that they're reaching out as well to reach all those that need assistance. And it's statewide, and it's what we call fuel blind. So it doesn't matter what type of heat someone has or what community they live in. They can contact the Salvation Army, and they'll be connected to Good Neighbor Energy Fund and the other programs they have.
So they would be going to your number first, or your...
Right, they'll be going to, hopefully, their local Salvation Army in order to find out if they qualify for the program. There's also a toll-free number and a website that people can go to find out if they qualify. But I have to say, it's been a tremendous collaboration between the utility providers and the Salvation Army over the 27 years to be able to really meet a critical need, particularly with families that are just struggling to make ends meet. And then
That's about everybody, right now, particularly with the recession.
Winter comes along, and the heating bills go up. And even with the mild winter, we found that we're still serving at a higher level than we were even last year. And what we're seeing now are more termination notices as opposed to people who qualify for the program coming to us in need of assistance. And
What's a termination notice?
A termination notice is provided by the utilities for customers, and I think Kate could probably answer this better, but who are a little bit behind on making their payments to the utility?
Correct.
Right, and so they'll call us or they'll come to one of our offices and show us that termination notice, and we'll be able to provide assistance.
Step in usually to be able to help.
Correct, and actually just to give you a little background, fuel assistance is a lower income range. So from very low income up to a level. We refer to it as 60% of the state median income. There's a chart, and it goes by the number of people in the household and the amount of income. More people, more income, but there's a cap. Good Neighbor Energy Fund is the very next level. There's no gap in there. So a couple of dollars could qualify someone either for Good Neighbor or fuel assistance if they have a few dollars less. So What we try and do is make sure we connect people up with the program that will help them most. During the heating season, they can only apply in one program. So if their situation changes, if they receive fuel assistance, they can't come to Good Neighbor that year. Or if they get Good Neighbor and their income decreases, they can't go to fuel assistance, to be fair to everyone. But what happens is if customers are unable to pay their entire bill, the balance will increase. As you get into the end of the winter moratorium, which exists for customers in the fuel assistance income range, not in Good Neighbor range, someone can be eligible to have their service disconnected. No one wins when that happens. So we do everything that we can to try and keep people connected. So proactively, we talk about Good Neighbor Energy Fund all year long. Let people know that it opens up December 1st for emergencies, which would be a utility shutoff notice or a deliverable fuel like oil or propane, where if it doesn't go to the customer's home, they don't have heat. And then, beginning of January, it's open up for anyone who's income eligible. So we try and get people before they get to the end and get the shutoff notice. But for some people, they believe next month will be better. I'm going to be able to catch up. It's going to work. And when they actually get the shutoff notice, it's almost like, okay, now I'm up against the wall. I've got to do something. We're trying to take the stress out of that and let them know if they called in February, Salvation Army would be more than happy to work with them then. They don't have to wait until the end in order to receive assistance.
Now, how are you going to get the word out? Because I had never heard of this collaboration or this.
We actually do a kickoff every year in the fall. The utilities promote the program. I do outreach, so I'm out in the community all the time. I bring outreach materials with me, and we always talk about the Good Neighbor Energy Fund and encourage folks to use it, but also to share the word. Whether someone wants to say, my household qualified or not, say, this woman wouldn't stop talking, and said, it's a great program, go, they'll help you out. Whatever it takes, get the word out there. We put it in bill inserts in the utility bills. A lot of people tell us they don't read those, but we try and do that. We have a website. It's magoodneighbor.org. So we try and
say
direct
that
people
again.
to that. It's magoodneighbor.org, so that it specifically gives you the income guidelines, who the utilities are that participate, how to apply, how to donate. Try and cover the whole gamut with it.
Now, if, for example, taking senior citizens, like if you came and talked to the senior citizen, had a special program, sometimes they're better about listening on site there to something like that. Maybe we ought to work that out sometime.
It's a phenomenal thing to be able to do, and sometimes the utilities will actually be able to do intake. So at the senior center, that may be an option. It may not be. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but there's creative ways. It isn't just very stiff and there's no other option to look at that. The goal is to reach people.
Yes.
And many times you have to go to people in order to do that. So if people felt comfortable going to a senior center or a community center and applying, then
because we have a great senior center now, and like sometimes people even just have something they've run off about something that's coming up or provided, and we have a whole area when you first come in where the material could be as well, as a one time.
And just to piggyback a little bit off what Kate was speaking about,
yes.
The Salvation Army has the ability to reach into every zip code and provide assistance. And my role as director of the Service Unit Program in Massachusetts is to recruit and train volunteers all across the state where we don't have a physical Salvation Army presence, so that we can provide services like the Good Neighbor Energy Program, or even if a family qualifies for fuel assistance or fuel assistance benefits run out, there are times when we can also provide assistance on top of what they receive for field assistance. There are some certainly guidelines, but the Good Neighbor Energy Program is one of the simplest programs to qualify people for assistance on Kate. You did a phenomenal job on that one. You sure you don't want to be a volunteer in another capacity? But and that's the other thing about the Salvation Army is that we our work is enhanced greatly by our volunteers, such as here in Belmont, we have volunteers on our roster who can provide the Good Neighbor Energy Program, as well as other services that may not be available a town or two over. The Salvation Army doesn't come into a community to say this is what we're going to provide. We come into a community so that we can hear what the needs are and develop programs to address those needs. And we work in collaborations with either businesses and or other agencies, nonprofits, even local government, state government, and with federal government as well, to be able to provide assistance in many different ways.
And one of the key things to really stress is everything is confidential. So sometimes people say, well, gee, I see Wil around town. I don't want to go in and, excuse me, excuse me, have him know my business. He can't tell anyone you came in. He's not going to repeat your income, why you came in, anything like that. It's totally confidential. So that's a huge thing for people to understand. And I've had people say, well, I don't want to be seen walking into a particular building and have people think I'm applying. I said, okay, if your elderly neighbor broke their leg and said, this building is 2 doors down from your office, would you mind dropping off my paperwork? What would you say? Sure, no problem at all. I'll go for you. I won't go for me. And we're trying to eliminate that because there is no shame in applying for assistance. Everything is strictly income eligibility. And when I say that, I can tell you my mother is income eligible for fuel assistance and the weatherization program available through that and the discounts and arrearage management and all. I'm not. I'm eligible for a different weatherization program. I just missed Good Neighbor Energy Fund eligibility. But there's other programs through the utilities and all that can try and help lower bills. So it's not a narrowing and trying to exclude people. It's really trying to be very inclusive and saying, this many people, this amount of income, look at all of these things that are eligible to you. And we really try and work with all of these agencies to say, great, you applied for our program, now have you applied for these other ones? So that sometimes it takes that reinforcement. You're not double dipping, you're not taking away from someone else. This is available to you, you are eligible, and while you need it now, use it. Another time you may not need it, another time you may need more. But in this income range, this is available to you, and it can help your household get through a very difficult time. And there's nothing wrong with if I went in January and applied, and I know I've used all the funding that's available to me, go back and say, well, do you know of anything else that might be available? My situation's changed. I now have an elderly parent living with me. I need some assistance. If they don't have that, if he's aware of it, he's going to refer to get to that. This is not a, sorry, can't help you, you're on your own. It's a very supportive situation.
And that's a very important service we provide to clients is the referrals to other programs, or maybe we have an additional program that can be brought to bear on the situation.
And as you, like you said, as you see a need in this particular community, it might be a unique need. They'll find a way to gather information, provide support or resources if that's available.
You know, I don't know if it's been posted yet, but like, would people start with a phone call? I mean, or going online? I mean, a lot of seniors, you know, we're not as agile online finding things, you know. We might forget a dot and it might not work. Can you phone?
We are accessible in every way possible.
Okay.
Whether it's the phone or walk-in or online, you can find information about us. To answer a kind of a question that wasn't asked earlier, why don't more people know about the Good Neighbor Energy Program? That's another reason why we're here today.
Right.
Is to promote the fact that there is a program out there that can really help people in real critical situations. And so what we need to do is just continue to get better about what we're doing so that we can promote the fact that we do have programs that can assist people. And what are those programs? How do you qualify? Try to keep it as simple as possible. And yes, we're very accessible. Oftentimes we receive referrals from other agencies as well as self-referrals, people coming in or calling or going online.
Now you come from where? What?
The Canton.
Canton.
Yes.
Is there anything like near here, or I mean, do people phone Canton, or do they? Is the Salvation Army? Well, that's where your headquarters are now, isn't
Right.
it?
Well, we could call the general office line at the headquarters in Canton, which is 617-542-5420. It actually rolls over to a new number, which is 339-502-5900. But also you can call your local Salvation Army. I know that there's an office in Waltham.
That's what I was wondering. Something nearer for a starter, maybe.
Absolutely.
Right. As you know, on top of the toll-free number for the Good Neighbor Energy Program, you can also call one of our local offices, and if they don't serve your community, say in Belmont, they'll refer you to the main number so that we can then connect you with someone local or provide the assistance directly.
Absolutely. And to tag on to what Will mentioned, that we are trying to get the word out to people. In 2008, the state raised the eligibility level for fuel assistance. Basically, overnight, one person could make up to $20,800. The following day, when the fuel assistance season opened, that one person could now make up to $27,876. So that's a huge increase. When the state raised that eligibility, Good Neighbor raised the eligibility as well. So we're always the next income level up. What happened is the majority of people that were eligible up here for Good Neighbor, now because the fuel assistance level was raised, they were now eligible for fuel assistance.
Okay.
Traditionally, people above fuel assistance haven't had a lot of other resources to go to. So Good Neighbor Energy Fund has been there. But now we were faced with educating a whole new group of people that are now in our income range.
Right.
That there is something available, it's not a scam, and it can help you out. And one of the huge benefits of the Good Neighbor Energy Fund is I happen to have gas heat at my home. If I was eligible for fuel assistance, it would have to pay my heat source. It would pay the gas company.
Okay.
Good Neighbor Energy Fund is an energy fund. I can say, even though I have gas heat, pay my electric bill. Or split it between my gas and electric. I'm bringing in both bills on that. So there's more flexibility with this.
Wow.
And this year we increased the benefit level up to $350. So that can make a serious dent in someone's bill, help make their payments more affordable, or maybe make it possible for them to get an oil delivery or propane delivery or something that has to be brought to the house. May make it possible for that to happen.
I'm still not clear whether people who wonder if they can have some help, whether they work through you initially or through you.
They would actually go through the Salvation Army. What we try and do is promote that the program is there, that we support it, and we encourage people to contact the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Because they will do the intake.
That's what I'm wondering, you know. You don't want people to get lost in the shuffle here.
Right,
That's
right.
okay.
We are the sole administrator of the fund. And so all of our locations, all of our volunteer service units across the state can provide the assistance directly.
Okay.
And what's
And are
great
they in the
is
phone book? I mean, Salvation Army, I've never looked it up. They're in the, just in the phone
The
book?
Salvation Army can be found in the phone book, can also be found online, as well as through referrals from other agencies in the community.
Okay.
They know us.
I'm sure they do.
And statewide information and referral is called 211. You can dial 211 from a landline, your house phone, or a cell phone, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And what's that for?
That's it's the statewide information and referral line. So if you need help, that's available. So if you called and said, I'm not eligible for fuel assistance and I need help, and can you direct me, then they would make the referral right to the Salvation Army. They'll actually transfer the call to the Salvation Army.
Okay, that's a help. That's
So-
a good help. Oh, my goodness. I know we were also going to say you can discuss the Salvation Army in general, and we just only have 5 minutes left, and I think we have pretty much clarified the mechanics about the fuel assistance thing and how to reach help. And I think it would be fun to hear more from your side about all the some of the things that the Salvation Army is involved in.
Well, I've been a part of the Salvation Army for over 30 years, and I've never been able to fit it into a sentence, so I've given up trying.
Sure.
I think the easiest thing to do is kind of break it up into some pieces that are more, digestible.
Okay.
The Salvation Army is an evangelical Christian church. We're also a human service agency, a nonprofit corporation, and our mission is, to preach the gospel, but to meet human needs. And that's where
what part of the gospel is.
Yes, it is. And so there are many aspects of our ministry that people recognize as service and assistance. And the Good Neighbor Energy program is certainly one of those programs. We also offer programs to at-risk children, the Bridging the Gap program, which is a very critical program for teens that are at risk of being first-time offenders. Maybe they are first-time offenders, and this is a program that helps to develop life skills. These programs are delivered at our Salvation Army Corps or community centers across the state. Very, very critical program. We also
Do you have many, is it young people primarily that you're addressing it, or could
Yes.
be any? Yeah.
Yes,
Do they-
mainly teens. We get referrals from the district attorney's office,
Oh, okay.
as well as local police departments, and
And do they come to you folks?
yes, most of our programs are operating at capacity, oftentimes with waiting lists. So it's a year-round program. It's a 6-week life skills development program. We also offer for adults through our adult rehabilitation centers programs that are designed to help people with drug and alcohol addictions.
Okay. So that's another field.
And more on the preventive side for children, we have Camp Wonderland out in Sharon, Mass, which is an overnight camp, and it's a great camp. All my kids have gone through Camp Wonderland; they love it, and we get very positive feedback from kids that have attended, as well as all of the spiritual enrichment programs at our Salvation Army Corps. And we serve kids of all ages, from newborns to 99 and above.
Now, how many people do you have involved in all of these things? Hundreds, thousands?
That's a good, here in Massachusetts. That's a good question. I haven't really added it up. I do know in our service unit program, there's an average of about 500 volunteers across the state that are at the ready year-round to provide assistance. And of course, there are the Salvation Army officers and soldiers who are working, week in and week out, year after year, helping people. And that's really what we bring, is some hope. That's really the heart of our work, is we want to bring hope into the lives of people.
And do you still have bands? Use
We do.
all the instruments at
Yes,
your
we do.
worship services? And
Unfortunately not at all of our corps, but there are several across the division that still operate the brass bands.
oh, I love that.
What would it be, without Christmas, and a brass band?
Oh, that's right, the kettles.
There you go.
Yeah.
Another great way to help, people who can, maybe they can give and help in that manner.
Yeah. You're very enthusiastic about your work and about the Salvation Army, and I think that's beautiful.
There's a lot to love about what I do.
Yeah. It's just wonderful, because I think all religious groupings have a segment that are working on what we call nowadays social justice issues,
Right.
Trying to have, like, your program. In other words, instead of just one-on-one, it's like having a service available and getting a lot of people involved that qualify. That's been the big change the last 30 years, I think, for different groups.
Absolutely.
Well, do either of you have something more you want to say? It's just about time to
Just want to say we're kind of winding down. We still do have funding available, but we'll be closing the fund probably within a month. So if someone is eligible, because we do have to close the books for our fiscal year, so we do encourage folks to call and absolutely find out if they're eligible, if funding is still available. I'm not sure when this is going to air, so I don't want to mislead anyone, but we do open up December 1st for emergencies.
We'd be for a week here in Belmont anyway,
Okay.
and
All right.
Online it's always there.
Okay, and we the fund opens every year for anyone on at the beginning of January, and then we try and go as long as we can, as long as the money allows. We're always happy to take donations year-round, and that can be done on the website or by calling the Salvation Army.
So you're not funded by the government?
No, the
state
utilities make contributions, and our customers contribute as well. And the Salvation Army administers it. That way it's separate, the money coming in and going out.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm getting the signal that I could have you go on for another half hour, but I think we better draw it to a close for now. And I thank you so much for your information, and you're so clear in your explanations and everything. I really think that's very impressive. So, till the next time with What's Going On, remember what's going on to help you with your fuel problems.